All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. We've got a couple of people still coming in, but they will catch up as they come in. But good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Zoe Schwartz. I'm the manager of membership services here at the Alliance. We are so excited to have One Digital with us today to talk about tackling the turnover tsunami. I know that these are issues that nonprofits across Connecticut and beyond are facing. It can be very isolating out there, thinking that you are the only one. Not. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things. Just keep yourselves muted unless you're asked to jump off of mute. I know Riley and Rachel have a very interactive session planned for you today. We will record it and send out the recording as well as the PowerPoint slides later this afternoon. If you have any questions, if you have any housekeeping questions, please just shoot me a message on Zoom. But with that, I will turn it right over to Rachel.
Thank you so much, Zoe, and thank you for everybody that joined the discussion this morning. My name is Rachel McDonald. I am a business development executive at One Digital in Farmington, Connecticut. My colleague and I, Riley Billion, are going to be talking to you folks in regards to, what seems to be the number one issue employers are having all over the country, not just not-for-profits, but it does hit everybody, unfortunately, and it's how we're going to tackle the turnover. We call it a tsunami turnover. So just a brief introduction of myself and Riley and who is One Digital before we kick off the discussion today. One Digital is an organization located in Farmington, Connecticut. Our mission, and I know you all have missions as well, being in the not-for-profit space, is to really make employers a better workplace for their people. And we can do that through HR consulting, and you'll hear from Riley today. Also employee benefits, property casualty, retirement and 401k and things of that nature. After today's meeting, you're all going to get a copy of the presentation and our contact information. So if there's any questions that you have that we do not get to today or that we can't answer during today's session, you'll be able to contact us directly. And again, you'll have the content of today's presentation. So I already see a comment in the chat box that says, thank you for coordinating this. Very timely. It's a critical discussion, and it is. And so we appreciate you joining this morning. And we are going to open this chat box for those of you that have questions during our talk today. And then also at the very end, if there's more time, we're gonna open it up again for more questions. But during today's session, you're gonna see that we have space available for discussion. And we're even gonna actually conduct a poll during today's session. So we appreciate you all being here. And Riley, if you wanna just say a few words about yourself, and then we can kick this off.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Hi, everybody. I'm Riley Billion. I work with our HR consulting team here in New England. And so this topic is something that I've been talking with every single one of my clients about, similar to you. How do we navigate this turnover tsunami? And I think it's so critical for us to almost change the conversation a little bit. We're going through this great resignation, the big quit, whatever we want to call it or name it. But how do we change it so that it's the great attraction? How do we make it so that it's the great onboarding experience for our employees? So Rachel and I are going to talk through so many different strategies today on how we can do that. And especially within your own nonprofit space, we're really excited to get some of the conversation going as well.
Thank you. So there's a turnover. There's a tsunami turnover, and this we know. And as Zoe said when she first kicked off this meeting, it's not just not-for-profits. Unfortunately, it's everywhere and it's across the entire nation. So what are people doing about it to change and have it be the great attraction versus the great resignation? For those of you that may have seen the 60 Minutes episode a month or so back, they called it the Great Resignation. There was a huge outreach on that. And so employers everywhere are struggling on retaining and attracting new talent to their organizations. We do have a couple statistics that we want to share. And we're also going to talk about what folks can do, especially in the not-for-profit space, about bringing back that attraction, talking about values and your mission, and things that attracted employees to go work for your organizations in the first place. A couple of things that I did want to share that I thought, I don't know what folks are hearing on your end, and we are going to open up for discussion, but there is not a one reason why people are leaving their employment. COVID changed a lot of factors, work-life balance, lack of flexibility, People just really overall changed their, what became important to them. You know, some folks were forced to leave their positions because they didn't have care at home for their children. But you're going to hear all these, you know, tactical things, if you will, around what we're hearing in market. Again, not just not-for-profit, but everybody, with regards to why people are leaving and what we can do to get people back in the workforce.
So without further,
go ahead, Riley. Yeah.
Without further ado, we actually want to start us off by launching a poll. So just wanted to get a sense here. What does employee retention currently look like at your organization? Is you struggling? Is it okay right now? Or it's great? Would just really love to hear from you. And I see so many people are already putting in your answers. So this is helpful. We'll give everybody another 10 or so seconds to answer that. And then going to go ahead and close it, get your final thoughts in, and I'm going to share the results. So really interesting. A lot of you are saying that right now you're struggling with retention, which makes a lot of sense given kind of the way of the world right now. And we're going to have some tools, tricks, and strategies on how to help better retain top talent. And others are saying it's okay right now. And so we want to keep that okay. And we also want to be sure that we know if it's okay right now, in the back of your head, you're probably sitting here and you're like, well, how do I make sure that it stays okay, right? So today we're going to give you strategies to make sure that you have an action plan that fits the needs of your organization to keep your employees connected, gauging employee engagement levels, getting creative with our benefits and total compensation structure, flexible work arrangements, and recruitment strategies that help attract talent. We've seen employees leave their jobs at alarming rates, and know that candidly, there are not a lot of good talent in the marketplace right now. Within the last few years, we've really lived through a transition within America's workforce from the old kind of thought pattern of work comes first to life comes first. And I want my passions and me to come first as a worker. Employers who can shift that perspective to match their employees are going to win the decade. And so a few questions just to keep thinking about throughout the presentation. Does the experience working for your company genuinely enrich the lives of your employees? Do employees feel satisfied and excited, passionate about their work? Did they jive with your culture and values? And did the packages that they receive holistically meet their needs from a benefits, salary, and rewards perspective? We're going to talk you through so many of these several ways that we can stop the tsunami and help engage our workforces. So here's an opportunity that we want either you to throw in the chat or come off of mute, and let's just get a little discussion going. Why do you feel like employees are leaving? What are some of the themes that you're hearing? Maybe you're doing exit interviews and you're saying, hey, you know, this continues to come up.
I'm keeping an eye on the chat also.
Thank you.
So salary, of course, comes in.
Yep.
That's not uncommon.
Yeah. Salary, wages. I know there's a lot of talk right now about inflation, and a lot of my clients, you know, when we're helping them talk through their compensation philosophy or performance review process, helping them get the tagline about why we cannot as an organization meet the inflation rates has been really crucial for them.
Starting their own businesses. We're hearing a lot of this now too, because people have had so much time to reflect. Of course, we see flexibility. Small 401k, either contribution from employees, changing career paths.
Okay. Awesome. Work from home, I'm seeing in the chat too, that being a big one. And so there's definitely a perspective of what can we provide to employees, while understanding that sometimes we can't give them everything that they want and need. You know, I think it's so interesting, whoever said people are leaving because they're starting their own gigs. I think that that's such a perfect opportunity for us to say, how can we actually blend the both? Is there an opportunity to? I'll stop talking because I see more chats coming through.
Yeah, I'm just taking an eye. Can't compete with state benefits. That's going to always be a little bit of a challenge, I think, even for for-profit organizations.
Yep. Burnout and workloads. We are going to have some really good conversation upcoming within the presentation as well. So I think this all goes to say, you all saw how the influx of messages that just came through the chat happened. You are not alone in feeling this way. However, we do want to help you mitigate this. This slide here shows how COVID completely changed so many things, to say the least. Not only is where and how people work different, but why people work is different. At some point during COVID, your employees likely had really big life changes. Maybe they expanded families, they moved to a new house, or adopted a new pet. That means that their lifestyle and what matters to them at work has changed too. This slide shows the evolution of HR's focus during COVID. And when I think of COVID, I really think of it as the great accelerator. Then how can we reposition our culture, our workforce strategy, meaning our benefits package, our job opportunities, career development, autonomy, flexibility, so that we can move away from that great resignation mindset and become an employer of choice? Shifting, I mean, I know I've said this before, I'll say it again, shifting the problem from the great resignation to great retention or great onboarding. So let's dive into some of the ways that we want to do that. I think we're going to kick us off with the discussion next.
Yes. So again, as Riley stated, we want to know, and I don't know if folks have had time, everybody's burnout, especially human resources in particular, but how often do your organizations review and update your values? Because we know that values change, especially during COVID, right? So things could have shifted. Have you reached out to your employees? Have you asked them what's important to them? If so, how do you do it? And what has their response or reaction been? And how often are you reaching out to employees to check on, if they're feeling valued and just the value of your organization?
Yeah, let's hear from a few people. I'm monitoring the chat too. This is actually something, working with clients, we're reviewing many of their values and mission statements recently. One of my clients had come back and said, we updated this probably 4 years ago. We may not need to make major changes, but we might want to make a tweak here or there to best fit our current strategy.
Right. So if we talk about mission and vision, if there's any particular segment of employers that has a mission, it's not-for-profits. We meet with them all the time, different not-for-profits throughout the state, New England, all over the country for that matter. And what we're hearing of recent is it feels like our people have lost our mission and we don't know how to get it back. And when people go to work for a not-for-profit, they usually are going there for the mission of that organization. And I think that when you hear our discussion today, it's going to be important to reiterate what that mission is and what your organization's values are, and to make your employees feel empowered and part of it, and that they're making a difference for your organization, and have it not just get lost in salary. We're also going to be talking a little bit later on in the presentation that there's more to benefits and more to making an employee feel valued other than just what they take home in their paycheck. And we're going to talk about different ways to do that as well. And again, there's a lot of people on this call today. Everybody has their own mission and everybody has their own vision, but it's why are we doing this? What is our mission and how are we going to continue to get our employees to get that love back for it, or new employees joining your organization to grab a hold of that mission with you and bring your organization to the next level. You want your employees to be the face of your organization. You want to come work here because I cannot tell you how often we meet with folks where, we can feel it. We can feel their mission, and especially at a not-for-profit. So a couple things we're going to talk about is refreshing your organizational values. And how do you do that? You identify your advocates, you involve your employees. Believe it or not, they do want to be involved. You might feel though it's another task that they have to take on. I know we heard the words burnout and things of that nature, but depending on how you engage with them and make them feel that they're involved, you'd be surprised. They're probably just doing their job and going about their business and leaving at the end of the day. We also want to, once we make a plan and, change some of these values, or I should say, re-engage these values, if you will, we want to put them into action. And we also want to recognize employees. And there are ways that you can recognize your employees without financial impact, because we know it's a challenge, not just for not-for-profits, but all types of organizations. And we're going to just talk a little bit about those as well. So again, we talked about it, just refresh your core values, change the way of thinking, revitalize your employees, get them involved, figuring out how their involvement can help your organization and the mission and the values. Have them give you some ideas of what they think is missing. I don't know. I know we asked earlier, but how often are the folks, even at the board level or a little bit a layer down, if you will, taking the own pull from your employees, not just when they leave or when they join, but while they're there? What are you feeling? What are you hearing on the floor?
Everybody's got to get.
How are people feeling here? Do we have burnout? Do we need to put in an employee recognition program? And there are ways to do that. One of the things that we do at One Digital is a kudos program. When someone accomplishes something, it's just a little note to the organization saying, thank you, Riley, for XYZ. So there's lots of different ways that you can make your employees feel valued, honored, appreciated, because there's a lot of that that's going on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many of you I'm seeing in the chat already answered this next discussion question. So I love it. But what are some strategies that you are currently doing that keeps employees connected to the mission and values of the organization? So a lot of you are saying, we're doing employee engagement surveys, which I'm really hearing that you're giving them a voice is what that does, which is amazing. And you're listening to them. What else have you guys implemented recently?
So some are redoing it now. It looks like they're in the process of review now.
Amazing.
People have started employee engagement surveys. They're doing them now annually, which I think is great.
Yeah. And one thing I even love to do, and I think we'll talk about employee engagement surveys in a little bit, but doing an annual, and then if you feel the need, doing pulse surveys even halfway through the year. It's a smaller subset of questions just to get a gauge of how are we doing from when we last pulsed employees. Some of the ways that we have strategies to keep people connected, I really find is keeping them aligned with their manager. My biggest number one return on investment that organizations can do is having one-on-one meetings between employees and managers. It's a dedicated space, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly, even monthly. It's that time for managers and employees to meet with each other, give feedback, share feedback, help eliminate obstacles, talk about career growth and development. It takes us away from that to-do list, right? It takes us out of that, and it helps us all think more strategically, bigger picture, and reconnects. Why is this employee here? What can we be doing with this employee, capitalizing on their strengths to help the organization overall? In those conversations, it almost hits everything that we have outlined on this slide here, because we're talking about not just how's work, how's your to-do list, but how's life, what's going on? Asking a few different questions about what this employee wants their goals to be, where they see themselves within the next year, 3 years, 5 years. Again, that's saying we're committed to helping you get there. Let's work together. And highlighting their actions where they've done really well. I also saw in the chat that many of you are doing almost like town halls on a monthly basis, which I think is a really amazing way to keep connected from the employee and leadership level at the higher strategic mission and values. So kudos to you all for already implementing some of these. When we think about employee engagement, how are you currently measuring your employee engagement? I know many of you said employee engagement surveys. What else are you doing to help kind of say, how are people? Are people engaged? Are people connected? Are there even questions that you love within your employee engagement survey that you've utilized for this? one of the questions that I love to implement between managers and employees during their one-on-ones is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how engaged are you right now? I love that question. And it allows us to then say, why are we at a 6? Or, oh my, you're at a 9. How can we keep doing more of what you're currently doing to keep you at a 9 or make you a 10? Somebody's at a 3, we have to really be doing some deep diving. How do you define engaged? Ooh, that's a really good question. You know, yes. I think that there's brings so many different definitions. I think of this as somebody who is motivated, they feel fulfilled, they're passionate, and they are ready to come to work. It's almost like when you wake up in the morning and you're excited about your day and your work ahead, that's engaged. You're engaged at what you're doing. You're productive. You're helping the organization. You're growing at the same time. Another great way that I look at engagement is through stay interviews. So I know that we often talk about exit interviews, but can we do stay interviews? Have you implemented focus groups as well? So I love getting qualitative and quantitative data from the employee engagement survey, but have you done a focus group where you're getting in front of some of your members of your team throughout the organization and just talking to them and hearing what they say, maybe implementing some things from that as well, and stay interviews too. So it's not an exit, we're helping you to stay somebody who's defined as top talent so that we can look at that. When I look at this slide, I always go back to like thinking about when we were in school, and I think every single one of us had that one teacher throughout our school age where they always made class exciting. It's like, I love my 4th grade teacher, Miss McMahon, because she was that to me, right? I loved that year, and I wished I could get that year back every single year of my life. She was so passionate about school and about helping us succeed. We couldn't help but feel the same way back to her. And when we left that class, we felt motivated and inspired. We spoke positively. I mean, I'm still speaking positively about her however many years later, right? So when we are engaged in an organization, it's the similar aspect where we are confident, we feel fulfilled, we feel passionate, and it translates on how we speak about our workplace to others. When we look at this slide, here are just some different steps as part of the process of almost assessing our current state and defining our future state as well. Gaining employee input through employee engagement surveys, focus interviews, as well as stay interviews. What does success look like for us? And then helping to figure out what initiatives we can do to help us get from point A to point B. All of this is multi-pronged, right? So I know it's hard to be, I know some of you had said, you know, salary is the #1 thing that people are leaving. I completely understand that. But there are other facets of why people stay and why people leave that we can tap into. We may not have the bandwidth to increase our salary, but we can help them feel empowered, like they have autonomy and that they're growing within their career and development as well. So we're going to open it back up to you all for another discussion here too. So when you're all looking, you know, beyond annual salaries, like we just mentioned, what unique benefits or programs are you offering to your employees as part of your total compensation strategy?
Yeah, we'll see how people respond to this, because we did see salary, we saw 401k, flexibility,
yeah,
generous PTO. Okay, that's
that's a very big one. Okay. All right, Rachel, tell us some of the ways that are considered compensation.
Yeah, so when you look at compensation, everybody seems to go right to the comfort of, what is my salary going to be? Okay, and obviously salary is a big component of it, but there's so much more to it. And we have some examples on the slide here today, and ways that you can communicate to your employees on exactly what their total compensation package looks like. We know not everything in this box everyone can implement. This is not a one size fits all, but if you're not doing one of these things and you even take one additional thing that your company or your organization can afford to do, but obviously there's bonuses and there's way to give those bonuses. They don't always have to be monetary. You can give a paid day off to somebody who went above and beyond and completed a task, or again, we use the word engage, maybe helped lead a strategy and came to see it through. You can give them a paid day off. People love that. Depending on your organization, there's commission. We talked about the PTO time. A lot of companies right now are going away with, earning paid time off and using your typical sick time days and your holidays. And they're giving you one bank and letting employees choose how they want to use that bank. Of course, with it being approved by your manager and or supervisor. We talk about, 401k and contributions. And again, depending on your organization and what you're able to do, but you have to ask, if you have people that are young that are leaving and people that should have been retired are staying because they can't afford to leave, that's something that organizations need to look at also. Tuition assistance programs. These are something that's really very popular. And again, if you offer it, maybe 10% of your population uses it. So it might feel like something you're spending money on doing, but again, it's part of the overall package and the overall appeal for people to either stay or join your organization that makes you different from another. Childcare assistance, this is another one. People have to put their children in, daycare. It's a huge expense. Does your organization do anything with, the reimbursement up to a specific level on that, or any level for that matter? I mentioned a little bit on retirement, employee assistance program, very, very crucial, especially right now. A lot of these are able to be offered at no additional cost to employer groups. And we're seeing that folks of all ages, it's not specific to just younger individuals or older individuals. I feel like the more and more we speak to folks, this is one thing that is not discrimination toward age. Everybody is in need of some assistance when they want to speak about what they're feeling and what they're going through, whether it's personally and or professionally. Something as little as a gym membership. We see a lot of organizations do this too. No, you don't have to pay for the gym membership. It could be a little bit of a discount toward that service. And believe it or not, depending on what insurance carriers you use today, some of them might offer that for your employees if they are part of your medical program. So that's something you want to ask your medical carrier partners about, because a lot of them offer it. You may not even know that exists, but it's something that you want to put in your package so your employees know that it's there and it's part of your total, we call it rewards package, if you will. Financial planning. Does anybody offer any suggestions for your employees to sit down and speak to somebody and say, how do I manage my money better? I'm feeling overwhelmed. And then of course we have parking and commuting costs, and that depends on where your organization is located, obviously. Hartford seems a little bit, quiet right now. We're hoping that, being part of the state, that it opens back up, but that's a huge expense for employees also. Or maybe you don't pay for the parking, but you give them the opportunity to work from home and you can save there. What we see here is, and a lot of employers are doing this now, is at the end of every year, an employer will send their employee a communication piece, and it'll say total compensation, and it puts a value on each and every one of the items that they give toward their employees. Like I said, whether it's a gym membership, and they tally it up. And once you see that tally at the end, beyond base salary, it really does speak volumes of, wow, when you put a value on each and every one of these enhancements, if you will, to how, your total reward package, if you will, it really opens their eyes to say, this is phenomenal. This is why I work here. Salary can only get us so far. And that goes for all of us on this phone call.
Yeah, absolutely. And some things that other people are saying in the chat is continuing ed reimbursement. Another big one that's happening in real time right now is increasing your mileage reimbursement too. We know that gas prices have gone up significantly. What can we do to help mitigate some of that in a proactive fashion? Health and wellness programs, pension matching, additional paid time off. I saw an added birthday day off, which is great. Somebody's even saying we cover 100% of medical, dental, vision for full-time.
Yes, Amy, that's incredible. And I hope people see the value in what your organization is doing there. That's not something we come across often.
Yeah, and I think even as you were talking about, Rachel, the total compensation statements does one thing. It helps communicate the value of what they're receiving. How else are we communicating that to our employees at open enrollment and throughout the year from an employer perspective? So that's something that is on top of our mind for every single one of the clients that we work with, and just kind of sharing that as well. So one of the things, shifting gears of what employees have wanted from the pandemic, or has accelerated in this space, is regarding flexible work arrangements. I would love to hear from you all if there are any flexible work arrangements that you have considered or have implemented, seen success with, or even have you seen it flop, and so that we can have some of those conversations as well. We know that flexible work arrangements can improve recruitment and retention efforts. However, we know how challenging it can be in the not-for-profit space in order to be able to help that. So I have some ways and tips and tricks that we can do that. Go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, while they're answering that question, I'm loving the chat box. I get all excited about this. So I see Karen says we contribute to half of the HSA deductibles for her staff who take the high deductible health plan. And I'm hoping that you have a lot of engagement in that plan. Reimbursing or providing people half of their deductible is a huge benefit. So as Riley stated, do employees really understand what that value is? They should. And if you're having trouble in that area, it's all about communication. Rely on your broker, rely on your carrier partners, because that is between that. And again, I think it was Amy who said you cover 100%. There's a huge value in that. And it should be, your employees should be understanding that value. And it's how that communication to your employees versus you talking at them, really them understanding what that value is.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking more about valuable things, when we think about flexible work arrangements, it often makes us think about these like big institutional policies, having an option to work remotely, full-time remote work, flexible schedules, or even unlimited vacation policies. However, I want us to think about flexibility and how we can achieve it in a variety of different ways. Often, offering flexibility doesn't mean a big overhaul of your operations or your policies. Even small changes within our cultural norms, or even changes at a team level, can bring a really big difference for our employees. So of course, we're all familiar, with hybrid and telecommuting and what that might look like. Maybe you could offer 1 day a week from home, or even 1 day every other week. We also have clients who have implemented a policy where employees get a bank of time off where they can work anywhere in the world, whether it be from home, whether it be from Florida, for that time. So this client I did it with, they did 5 days. They said, you have 5 days throughout the year where you can work wherever you want in the world. Apple does something similar. They give, I think, 4 weeks where go 4 weeks. We don't care where you work from. Doesn't matter what your Zoom backdrop is. It allows employees to say, I have a pool of time, but it doesn't mean that we as the employer are saying every single week you get a day to work from home, right? That's one option. Flexibility, when I think about it, also comes in the way of providing autonomy and empowering our employees through career pathing and professional development. We here at One Digital have implemented 2 things from recent employee engagement surveys on our end that I have found to be really helpful, not only for us, but other clients that have implemented it. One is Take Back Tuesday. Now, if you said that your employees are burnt out, these 2 are huge to consider implementing. Every Tuesday from 12 to 3, each employee blocks out time on their calendar where we are not meeting with other employees within One Digital as much as possible. We know emergencies come up. It's basically saying you get that time to take back your work, become proactive, become strategic, accomplish everything that's on your to-do list. We also recently implemented a program called It Can Wait. That's what we've coined it. The It Can Wait program says, we all know that our office hours are from 8:30 to 5 p.m. If you have something that you need to talk to a colleague about outside of those hours, and it can wait, deliver your email. Set it so that it goes in at 9 a.m. One of the things that the pandemic has brought on is this always on feeling, right? And I think that's from a lot of burnout, what we're experiencing. So the it can wait says, we'll only chat between our office hours, right? And if there's an emergency, of course, we implement something, we get in touch with you. Many of my clients have implemented these as well and have had really good success with it. We also have customized work hours, making sure maybe your team or teams within your organization have different start and end times where it makes sense for them as a cohort to be able to do that. Having part-time jobs or job sharing where people are blending their two roles together and helping to support that could be helpful. And then reviewing your paid time off, which I know so many of you are already doing, offering something like volunteer time off if you don't currently do that.
Get an email from you,
Okay.
I'm seeing a note here that says, I like this. And just to kind of,
yeah, they get the first one.
just to kind of tackle on what Riley said was we do have, Take Back Tuesday where it allows you some of those hours. And I think while most people are looking for flexibility and looking for remote, when you are fully remote, it also comes with call after call after call after call. You don't eat lunch. You feel like you're actually working more, if that's even possible, when you're 100% remote. And maybe it's how you communicate that to your employees too. 100% remote can be pretty isolating depending on the individual. So just some things to keep in mind. Again, the Take Back Tuesday is phenomenal. It allows individuals to focus on what is in their task box. Uninterrupted. It's a couple hours once a week. And it's actually worked wonders.
Yeah. So now as we shift our focus a little bit, we're going to talk about recruiting strategies. Right now, there are more than 500,000 job openings in the not-for-profit sector. So there is a huge gap that we're seeing and you all are experiencing of trying to bring talent in. I'd love to hear what types of recruitment strategies any of your organizations have implemented. I'm going to go ahead and get on to the next slide, but please type that in so that we can talk about them. One of the biggest things that I see the need for is first and foremost, creating a formal recruitment strategy, right? Without this, we really are throwing darts at a wall in the dark. Retention starts with recruitment. If you do the recruiting well, you'll get a worker whose skills, passion, and drive align with the organization's mission, and you are halfway through the retention journey at that point. We want you to evolve your hiring criteria. I think so much in the past, we have had employers say, I'm looking for a needle in a haystack. Let's broaden that perspective. And I know that we all crave, for example, a candidate with nonprofit experience. However, a majority of the Great Resignation candidates will have minimal nonprofit experience. So they lack those hard skills that the position requires, but this isn't a reason to disregard their resume. These skills that we're looking for can largely be taught. Culture and passion cannot be taught. We want to give our candidates as many opportunities to prove their commitment to your nonprofit mission through cover letters and interviews. One big thing that I've seen a shift over the last few years, not as many candidates are writing cover letters anymore, right? I think a lot of you would experience the same and say, yeah, I noticed that too. Don't negate that necessarily. Be open to a phone screen, a phone interview with them.
So Riley, it looks like we have some pretty creative things that folks are doing. So creating a formal recruiting strategy, a couple folks here do the employee referral bonus, which I think is fabulous. Employees of your organization, they want to recommend someone that they know will be reliable. Their name is attached to that individual. So I think that's a great thing. It looks here as though Karen's organization sign-on bonuses for clinical positions, and I can understand that because clinical folks and teachers are the most burnt out, and HR for that matter, of what we've seen and heard. But I wanted to know, Riley, do you have any suggestions for, we're looking at areas to recruit more diverse applicants? They're looking for some suggestions there.
Yeah, so first and foremost, we want you to be sure that your career page on your website shows the value. Are you advocating diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging at home, right? On your careers page, what does that look like? Are we offering that within our own job postings as well? Making sure that we're saying that out loud. And then where exactly are you posting for each role? I know based upon the specific area of your organization, you may have more diverse populations or job boards that you can tap into as well. One thing, going back to the employer referral bonus that I also wanted to mention, we are seeing a lot of clients not necessarily even just doing employer referral or sign-on bonus, that they're also implementing retention bonuses. So if you stay with our company for the next 1 year, you basically say, who is our top talent? Who can we not live without? You select them and you say, if you stay with us for 1 year, you get X% of your current salary. If you stay with us for 3 years, you get an additional X%. You stay with us for 5 years, you get more. Again, they can't turn that down. It's something that actually my brother-in-law received from his employer. We talk about it at dinner all the time, right? It's one of those things that is a positive that we're now talking about our employer and what they're doing from an engagement perspective. When we also think about nonprofits, making sure not only your careers page is up to date, that it's welcoming, but maybe even showcasing a video of a day in the life. You can record something on an iPhone, go around the office and just say, tell me what's one thing that you love about working here. Why did you come on? And compiling all of that into a quick 1-minute video will really help the candidate who's going to your website say, I want to work here too. Rach, I think I cut you off.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I wanted to say, just to have those little snippets, when you go on employers' websites, you say, about us, meet the team. To Riley's point, if they had a 30-second video of what drew them to your organization, how long they've been there and what they love about it, you'd be surprised how many people connect with a video and a person that actually represents your organization versus just words. So it's just something to think about. We've implemented that as well. We often, even now, sometimes communicate via email through a video. It just puts the face with a name and a smile, and it gets us back into looking at each other instead of just behind the words.
Yeah, absolutely. Another big one of the things on here that I want to mention too, and I'm sure you're all already doing this, but as we're recruiting and you have a job to fill, are there any volunteers that you currently have helping out your organization that may want to come on to be an employee? So again, just shifting that focus a little bit and taking a look at the population of who currently is interacting with your organization, your mission, and your values, and how can you tap into that even more? So all of this to say, Rachel and I have said this multiple times throughout the presentation, but I want to say it again. When we reposition our workforce strategy, we shift from the great resignation to the great attraction. I almost think about a magnet, right? And how can your organization be that magnet that's pulling the candidates towards you? So there are so many ways that we can do this. And some of the kind of summary of what we've talked about today is here on this slide, where we really look towards empowering your people. A lot of the talent that you look for is already within your current organization. When we empower our people, we unlock their individual strengths. Instead of forcing workers down a predetermined path, we foster their unique developments, which is more fulfilling and offers better advancement, not only for them, but the organization as well. Instead of setting that expectations of, we've always done things this way, or this is how we do things, it opens the door to experimentation with the goal of doing things better. We know that creating this kind of culture can be tough, and it's hard work, and it's also worth doing. This slide shows 5 different ideas to help build that culture that unlocks your people's best talent. This is all what we've talked about already today, but it allows us to really understand what motivates our team to help keep them engaged. One last discussion point for today. We would love to hear what's one strategy today that you took away or you're planning to implement or consider implementing.
Yes, I would love to hear, because I would like to redo this poll, and I want struggling to go to it's great.
Yes. Absolutely.
Just one of the things that Riley mentioned while the rest of you are answering in the chat was about, rewarding people when they stay at your organization. It's a huge undertaking to hire folks and keep those folks on. It's time, it's money. You're training people, you're getting them up and running on your benefits, and you don't want people leaving 3, 4, 6 months after the fact of them getting hired. And we realize that the audience today happens to be not-for-profit, but that doesn't mean that for-profit organizations don't have struggles, financially as well. It doesn't have to be increase in salary. It could be a t-shirt. It could be a mug saying, congratulations on your 1 year. Just any little recognition for employees, believe it or not, does go a long way. They don't feel forgotten, and no one's forgetting them on purpose. Everybody's busy. We saw the word burnout. I can't even tell you how many times in the chat today. So
left it all.
Let's see what we have here.
Yes.
So people say, okay, so Danielle, have a specific area designated for highlighting diversity and equity and inclusion. That's huge right now. Across all organizations in America, everybody is focused on diversity and inclusion. I like it. Okay, look into the gym membership. So Tracy, check with your carrier partners, whether it's medical, dental, vision, see what extras that they have built in that you might not even be aware of. Believe it or not, a lot of them are offering these things and they're hidden. They're not spoken about because people don't take the time to talk about them, not because they don't want people to take advantage, but more because people are usually focused on what's my deductible and what's it going to cost me out of my paycheck. So I would recommend definitely looking at your carrier partners to find out who currently includes that, so it's not an additional expense for your organization. Birthday day off, I like it. And that's people love that.
Into implementing an employee engagement survey, which is great, Karen. I love that.
Okay, I like this one too. So it was Shireen. I like the idea of adding a value to each of our benefits. When you see it on paper, it speaks volumes. Most people just think immediately, what's my salary? They don't even fully understand how much it costs your organizations to offer and pay for medical, let alone dental, vision, or any other lines that you might offer to your employees. When you put things in a numerical value, they get it.
Yeah.
Harvard Pilgrim, they do. They reimburse $150 a year for a gym, and all you have to do is have your employees go on a website, submit their gym bill, and as soon as they see proof that your employee is paying for that, they will send a check to the employee's home. So that's great.
A few people saying that it can wait idea and program, which is great, and the bank time to work anywhere in the world. So we're so happy that there have been so many strategies that you're all taking away and writing down. That's honestly our passion, as Rachel said in the beginning, is to help make workplaces better through empowering your own people with great HR benefits, retirement, property and casualty insurance. So where we think about today's key takeaways, it's expanding your all, and I see you all doing this already, and I love it so much. Just how can we rethink? What can we do a little bit differently or implement to help empower our people, reinforcing the connection between their job and the mission of the organization, knowing that compensation extends more than just money, but also benefits, work-life balance, performance, service recognition, career development, and determining how we can incorporate flexibility and autonomy into our organizations are those clear differentiators that are going to set you apart within and as you attract your own talent to your organization. We wanted to open it up. If there were any additional questions that we haven't answered yet, please do let us know. Feel free to come off of mute or throw it in the chat.
I have a question that came in that somebody just sent me privately, and it asks about how do you remind your employees, about all these benefits that you offer through insurance or through just that your organization is doing. And when people are so burned out, how do you continue to remind them that there are resources available when, they are burnt out? Yeah, that's the gist of the question.
Yep. So there's a couple of different ways. Depending on the organization, you can post reminders on your intranet site, if you will, that your employees go to for, the latest and greatest information. Honestly, monthly reminders. Let's not forget about the wellness, event that we have in this coming week. But a lot of it is reminders, I hate to say it, and repetition, because people will only pay attention if you're reminding them. If you're not, and if you're only in front of employees, and again, this is everybody. This is not specific to not-for-profits, but we tend to focus on what we offer once a year, right? You get your renewal, you change your benefits, your rep comes out, they go over everything, and then what? You wait another 12 months before you communicate it again, and it's got to be consistency. You have to keep reminding your folks, again, via email or even posting different things and links and articles on your intranet sites. Remind them that you're there more than once a year and those resources that are available, and pick one topic a month. If it's, hey, if you haven't signed up for your medical benefits, it's coming up next year. Or did you know that we had a tuition reimbursement program a month later? And just remind folks with those little, what do we call those words, Riley? They're like trigger words.
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know what I'm
And somebody will say, ooh, I didn't know we had tuition reimbursement. It's just those little trigger words that you'll end up getting somebody's attention on.
Yeah. And I think, Rachel, as you're saying that, the thing that comes to my mind too is making sure that your employees know where they can find this information at their fingertips. It's us ongoingly communicating what they are. But then if an employee has a question of where do I go to find this, they know where to go, so that they can look it up whenever they need it. And then, even One Digital does weekly newsletter or reminders from our chief people officer showcasing some of the benefits that we have. So that's another option, just like Rachel was saying. We don't want to make it a once a year event. We want to make it an ongoing communication about what the benefits are.
I had a question. I'm very interested in doing the bonuses for people who stay, at a year anniversary or two. But we do have, it's sort of a conundrum because we have a lot of people who've been here for 20 years, 25 years, even 30 years. So I'm wondering how we roll that out without offending the people who've been here so long. And it gets very expensive if we're going to try to do it for everybody.
Yeah, it is tough. And I think, Tracy, you even mentioned a question that somebody else said, how do these hiring bonuses and retention bonuses work? One of the things is it is tricky because you don't want to disengage or unmotivate somebody, right? But we also are using it as a tactic. It isn't typically something when we're talking a retention bonus, it's typically not something that we're showcasing outwardly to the whole organization. This is what we're doing, and we only pick top 10 people that to get this. But we also can say, how do you get this bonus? What are the qualifying metrics in order for somebody to get this, right? And then that way there's a little bit of that carrot of motivation, or even having those one-on-one meetings with managers and employees that understand and explain why somebody might not be eligible for something. Going to Dan's question, he said how does referral bonuses work? Skeptical that a quality candidate will stay long term or won't for a few $100s. One of the ways that I like to structure these is that an employee will get half of their employee referral bonus on their first day or the day the employee starts. And then they go after 6 months or a year, they get the second half of that. It's not a false safe or fail safe, but it's something that we can do to try to get them on. And it's also about, making sure that we're getting the right long-term fit.
Right. And Dan, I'm not sure if your question is pertaining to your employee that's referring or the candidate that you're hiring, but what to Riley's point, either way, what we've seen happen on hiring bonuses, if you will, are that the bonus is not paid to your new hire immediately. It's over a period of time. So they almost have to, I hate to say, earn that bonus, but you are committing to give them a bonus. and it usually has a beginning date and an end date. Nobody wants to give somebody $500 to join your organization and have them leave in 3 months. So that's definitely not the idea, but you do want to even maybe give that to them quarterly, or after 90 days, they receive the remainder of it, depending on what that amount is. But there are ways around that. We don't encourage giving it all up front. To your particular, reasoning here. You want people to stay at your organization, not come in, get paid a bonus, and then leave.
Okay, any other questions?
Wow. So Karen's organization is doing the sign-on bonus. Karen, I have to get the name of your organization. You pay 100% of benefits. You're doing the sign-on bonuses.
Well, we just so appreciate everybody's engagement, participation, and discussion throughout today's session. It's really been amazing. As Zoe said, the recording will go out as well as the links, the recording, the slide deck, and you will all have our contact information. So we would love to continue the discussion with you all. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are here as a resource for you all. Awesome.
Thank you for that, Karen. So thank you all for having us. We look forward to hearing from you if you have any additional questions, and we'll make sure you have all of our contact information. We appreciate your time and attendance today. A lot of great questions, a lot of great dialogue in the chat.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Riley. Just as a reminder, we do have another roundtable coming up this week that I think will be, informational for this group. It is the Employee Retention Credit Roundtable. So for organizations who were eligible for the PPP loans, we have a session coming up on Wednesday with Whittlesey to go over this program. It's on the 23rd at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And again, if you register.
Yes, make sure you go to that, folks, because a lot of people don't think they're eligible, and you very well could be, and there could be a lot of money back to your organization. I wouldn't miss that. I have nothing to do with it, but I know a lot about it.
Yep. So again, it'll be recorded. So if you can't make it, please just register so you're on the list to get the recording. But again, thank you all for being here today, and hopefully we will see you later this week.
Thank you for having us. Take care.